Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is the animated series on Netflix currently, if you're in the United States and want to give it a try, that has my audience constantly begging me to pick it up and give it a go. I read one of the manga volumes as just a little try there, but then I went ahead and just decided to watch the show. And what I have to say about it is, it's pretty good. I actually think this is the best anime I've seen in my adult life, so good job there. That does not mean I do not have my complaints, if you notice from the red, but those will be lighter than I expected them to be, because for those of you new to the channel, or just haven't, watched a lot of the really old stuff, I've vocally said anime is typically not my medium, neither is manga. I usually don't like the genre as much as most, so I've had a bit of a pushback on that. I definitely loved Avatar: The Last Airbender for what it is, and recently infamously kind of messed up a review of Berserk. But getting into Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, a lot works here. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood's story is woven together very well. So there's these pillars of everything you jump into, right? The characters, the world itself, the plot, all these things blend to make your end product. For me, all of them are so reliant on each other. For Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, that's one of the things that stood out to me the most, for sure. Let's just start with the character. You have these two brothers who, through some very horrific events, are now deformed. One's arm and leg is now not a human arm and leg, and the other body is completely gone and they now embody a suit of armor. Pretty interesting right there. What I like is how that origin is then tied into the magic system, which, by the way, is a very badass magic system. This whole alchemy thing, I was a bit hesitant getting into it. Best anime magic system I've ever seen, coming from someone extraordinarily, ignorant in anime. But yes, I can, anytime you can really take an interesting magic system and tie it into a character's story, by just like the nature of that relationship, I'm now more invested in that character as well, because I know there'll be a vassal for me to see this magic system explored. Now, on top of that, I'm immediately sympathetic with these characters because of their origin. Well, I think the delivery of it's a bit clunky. Once we get into criticisms, you'll learn more about that. Overall, though, I immediately was like, oh, these brothers have a great relationship. I enjoy them as people. Actually, not right away. We'll get into that in a second. And so those two elements, rock solid, stronger for being together. But then we have this world, which feels so alive. I was blown away. Stupendous, magnificent of how vivid this world feels. One, we've just had major wars and things that set up the current political climate. So there's a bunch of history backing up, adding heavier weight to what's going on. You guys know me. You know I'm an epic fantasy guy. I want my history. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood brought that history to the table. So we have this history that makes the world feel more vivid. The technologies, the magic system are also interesting and well explored. And then the characters in it, usually across the board, feel like they're motivated and gray. And that is, the compliment of all compliments. I like gray characters. I like the morality in my stories to be more gray. Boy, oh boy, is that the case here. You don't have a side to side with because you know how flawed and monstrous all sides really are. There's problems everywhere in that sense. Again, I love it. It's so good. I like when I'm not able to just safely sit in one spot and say, this is the good guys, everything's safe, they're never going to do anything bad. Everyone here does things bad. Hell, the origin of the characters I've talked about is from a story that's tragic, but it's them violating some serious laws that has this end result for them. So that's a whole lot of positives, right? I really like the characters, I loved the world and how it was built, and the plot and story itself I found interesting enough. But now we need to get into my problems. Tone and humor. This is something that I feel to be just a trope truth of anime now, and kind of is just becoming disappointing to experience again and again, especially because everyone promises me, if you go to my Avatar video and look in the comment section, you'll see people saying, oh, if you hate the humor in Avatar, jump on over to Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Doesn't have that same humor problem, it's more adult. So I went into this thinking, I'm not going to see the same anime humor that's so obnoxious and never translates to actually being funny to me. There was, so much of it. It got better as the show went on, especially around like the third season or however they're breaking it up on Netflix. As soon as we got there, it started to taper down and mute itself. But the first two seasons, especially, were so chock full of such incredible misfirings of comedy that I nearly gave up early on. I mean, in the first episode alone, we see this repeated joke that is, the older brother's self-conscious about being so small compared to his other brother, and he wants everyone to recognize him and be the hero he is. That's repeated about 7,000 times before the episode's over. It's obnoxious, it's not funny the first time, and it becomes just complete immersion breaking, because there's a very serious tone. All these characters are serious, realized people, but then they have these comedic moments that go on way too long. It's essentially the same thing you see in like annoying sitcoms where like the laugh track goes on for too long. These over-the-top, grandiose anime reactions are equally as annoying to me. It's the same thing as laugh track. Character said poo-poo, but it's just an animator with a weird sound effects making the characters go and it just destroys my immersion. And on top of that, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood was guilty of doing it during tense climactic moments. At the very end of the first series, there's this kind of storyline, and there's this huge fight going on, and even in that fight, a character's doing like the weird anime squiggly line, blah, and never once did Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood make me laugh. Never. Never even cracked a smile. All it made me do was when it tried to make jokes, I would just go, because they were always in the same vein of misfiring comedy. So yeah, didn't love that, which then really hurt the tone, and I also thought the pacing of the show was pretty jarring, because it kind of falls into questing episodes, and then there's episodes that are much closer to the storyline, and there's like a little bit of blend of both sometimes, but I felt a lot of filler. So yes, I've had every anime I've ever watched had a sense of humor that drives me insane, and this includes all the way back to Dragon Ball Z when I was a kid. I think I've also watched something show, I don't know. That was a long time ago as well. So just brutal misfirings of comedy, pretty bad pacing, and animations that just kind of annoy the crap out of me. So those, yeah, are the negatives, in my opinion, for Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. I'm really positive on the stuff I liked, and very negative on the stuff I didn't like. Would I go back and happily rewatch it? No, not really. I don't really see myself ever really frothing at the mouth to want to rewatch this, but I'm not unhappy I did watch it. It was a good show, and certainly was interesting enough in its world and lore enough to make me hooked every episode. Like, I really loved exploring the magic, how it was tied to so many evil and awful things, the abuses of it that inevitably come from it being in human hands, which is a theme of the show I really enjoyed, the just flawed nature of humanity. Actually, yeah, I want to take a moment to say the themes of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood are brilliant, not only in their conception, but execution. So add that to the pile of praise. All that, there's so much positive to be held there. I do have the negatives I've had consistently, always with this genre, medium, what have you, though. And it's just, I'm really hoping I can find one that doesn't. Attack on Titan's next on my list, so follow me on that journey. Probably get you a review of that in like a month. I just really it's like sandpaper on the groin. Not a big fan of that sense of humor and that exaggerated animation style as a reaction. But I will say, and give you anime fans major credit here, I never thought I'd be the guy who's going through popular anime shows, but hey, hell, I'm here and I'm doing it. And that's because there is a lot more quality in general with what I've seen so far than these stereotypes and my previous experience would have lent me. I'm just grateful you guys are knowledgeable enough in my taste not to be like recommending Naruto. You know me well enough to avoid that. I'm going to say, in conclusion with my review of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, that my final opinion is going to be Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood it will definitely be on my next fantasy TV show tier list video out of 10, because I wanna really put it in there, because I feel like I am very polarized in this review, so I want to put greater context of where exactly it falls in my overall liking, because I mean, yeah, it was fun and definitely interesting. Like, I wouldn't say I was entertained the whole time. I was interested the whole time. Anyway, guys, like and subscribe if you have not already. Hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here. And let me know what anime, manga series you want to see me tackle after Attack on Titan and getting a bit more into Berserk. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.